This is an avocado, and this is a podcast. That makes this an avocado podcast.
You are now listening to The Young Good, a podcast for the goods. Hello everyone, and welcome to this potentially polarizing episode of The Young Good. I'm your host Rodney, and something I often think about is what it must be like to be publicly accused of sexual harassment by a woman. How would I handle it? What would I do? Do I have enough positive karma, social capital, and goodwill to withstand the pressure? Will I get through it with minimal collateral damage? These are things that I marinate on sometimes when I'm just like seeing all that's going on in the world. And as it turns out, I have a personal story to tell. Sometime last year, a family friend, someone I'd known since I was a child, came in my DMs out of the blue, and she basically called me out for tapping her bum when I was 13 or 14. She's 31 years old now, and I'm 29, at least at the time of recording. And she came into my DM to accuse me of tapping her bum 16 years ago. I was shook. First of all, the fact that she remembered after all this time, and the fact that she would bring it up out of the blue just like that, it made me like really cringe and wonder what really goes on in the minds of women sometimes. It wasn't even like a passing statement, it was a full-on accusation. So now I'm thinking to myself, did she just realize that I had harassed her, or has she carried it with her all this time in silence? And then the fact that she's like family made it all the more confusing. The entire thing got me thinking, if a family friend could do something like this, how much more a stranger, a fling, a scorned lover? And I began to search my memories on God knows what else I may have mindlessly done that occupies that gray area between harmless fun and sexual harassment. And then that's when those thoughts of how would I handle a public accusation crept in. Social media has seen countless accusations made by women, some unfounded, some with evidence, all of them messy as hell. Messy because no one teaches you how to accuse an abuser or how to respond to an accusation. Even celebrities with entire PR teams get it wrong all the time. And I can't blame anyone, because just as sexual harassment itself is ugly, accusations are ugly too. Once a person is accused, naturally their defenses go up, especially if they don't remember or they don't see their actions as harassment, or if he was sure the feeling was mutual. The nuances involved are, whoa, no wonder it gets so messy. What I've also noticed is that it's not necessarily the accusation itself that ruins men, even though it does damage reputations. It's their classless response to the accusation that finishes them completely. Know this: the course of any conflict is not determined by the one who starts it, but by the one who responds. So how do you respond? There aren't a lot of good examples of how to handle a sexual harassment accusation, but I found the perfect one. In this episode, I'm going to share that perfect example and show the men listening how it's done, so that we don't make matters worse. First things first, a message from my sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Podroom. It's a really cool podcast app developed by a Nigerian. Unlike other podcast apps, it allows listeners to interact with their favorite podcasts and hosts in real time. You can leave comments and reactions to episodes while you listen to them. How cool is that? You can respond to the comments left by other listeners, and you can leave messages for the host. It's just what the podcast community needs to make podcasts more fun, engaging, and community-oriented. Download the app, set up your social profile, and begin to listen, comment, and react to your favorite podcasts today. Available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store. I can't wait to connect with you all on the platform. Just search for The Young God, choose an episode, and leave your thoughts as you go along. Follow Podroom on IG and Twitter at Podroom Podcasts. I'm about to share that perfect example of how sexual harassment accusations are responded to in the best way. If you're a man, if you're a woman, you're gonna really benefit from this story. So pay attention. There's gonna be a lot of I'm gonna rush through it because obviously for time and I'll let you anyway, without even talking too much, let's get into it. On January 2nd, 2018, Dan Harmon, the creator of Rick and Morty, opened up about sexual harassment from himself towards other people. Unprovoked, as in there was no prior accusation, no rumor, no nothing. It was during the peak of the Me Too movement, so he decided to open up about how he had participated in harassment of women in the workplace. In response to this, a woman named Megan Gantz, who worked with Harmon as a writer on his other show, Community, stepped forward as a victim of said misconduct by Harmon. The show Community aired from 2009 to 2014, I believe, and Harmon spoke about his misconduct in 2018. Just to give you guys a timeline of events, right? So when Megan Gantz stepped forward, Harmon reached out to start a dialogue with her and offer an apology for his behavior. Gantz said she actually appreciated his gesture but didn't feel compelled to forgive him. She had lost all respect for him and didn't feel like she wanted to listen to anything he had to say. Like there was nothing he could say that could make it right, or so she thought. She didn't even press charges or make a public fuss about the ordeal. She just wanted to hold him accountable for his actions. But then, Harmon did the unthinkable, the unexpected, what no other man in a million years would do. He took it a step further by going ahead to make a lengthy apology on his podcast, where he went into great detail about his wrongdoings. He spilled all the beans about his relationship with Gantz, snitched on himself unprovoked, people. He took full responsibility for his actions, detailing exactly how often he had failed her, how he justified it to himself, and why his behavior was so unacceptable. Long story short, he admitted to making advances on her and then mistreating her after she had turned him down. Keep in mind that Harmon was Gantz's boss, so you can imagine how toxic that dynamic must have been. I've heard all kinds of apologies for all kinds of things, but what was refreshing about this is that Harmon explained what he was thinking and how he acted at the time without making excuses or throwing himself a pity party. Because an apology isn't something you say to make someone forgive you. Apologies are opportunities to admit your own mistakes. Harmon understood that. In fact, those are his words from a TV show, Community. Those are his words. So it was refreshing for me as a fan of his to see him, living or practicing what he preaches, rather. He used the entire experience to urge others to consider how their own actions and attitudes towards women affect women in the workplace and in general. Gantz listened to the podcast episode and said that she actually felt vindicated by his admission, that she didn't know how much she needed to hear him say those words publicly. She said, and I quote,
"I didn't dream it. I'm not crazy. Ironic that the only person who could give me that comfort is the one person I'd never ask."
Close quote. That's powerful. She was so moved by his gesture that she even accepted his apology publicly via Twitter. She even went as far as urging her Twitter followers to listen to the episode, which she called a masterclass in how to apologize. And that was the end of it. That was that. There was no dragging, no cancelling, no back and forth between Harmon's fans and Gantz's fans, between feminists and misogynists, or whatever other divides that we like to create to make things spicy. Nobody dragged anyone, nobody cancelled anyone, a balance was restored. That is how it's done. I recommend you listen to that episode to hear for yourself just what a perfect apology sounds like. You can find the link in the description of this episode. His 7-minute monologue begins at the 19-minute mark. And what's interesting is that Hammond also revealed that he was advised to not talk about the thing publicly, but he chose to follow the advice of female colleagues who suggested that the best way to stop being part of the problem would be to speak out. And that's why they say, listen to women, because you see how it all worked out. Let's take a break. Let's take a moment to pause and breathe. Relieve the tension. Whatever you're doing, close your eyes, take a deep breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's resume. As you can tell from the story between Hammond and Gans, that's a win-win situation. How so, you might ask? For starters, Gans was able to banish those demons she'd been carrying all those years and take back her power. I think people often underestimate and don't talk about that dark cloud that follows a woman or a victim of sexual harassment. You know, that constant self-doubt and paranoia with regards to the opposite sex. You know, it can be stressful, you know, just having yourself being that situation. So having Harmon do what he did was able to clear all doubts in her mind and restore her to a place of sanity. For Harmon's part, he was able to buy himself some valuable peace of mind and gain respect, not just in Gans's eyes, but publicly. His stock rose for making that sort of rare, selfless gesture. Even with me as a guy, because I've been a fan of Hammond for the longest time because of Rick and Morty and Community and just how he runs things with his TV shows. So when I found out about this, late last year, it wasn't even something I've always known. I found out about this a year after it happened, and it just increased my respect for this gentleman and everything about him. You know, so men just don't do such things. People don't humble themselves like that very often. This is an example of the God mentality I described in my affirmation episode. Ask yourself what the average person would do in a conflict, and then don't do that thing. Do the opposite, do the right thing. People don't do the right thing often. People don't even know what the right thing is. And it often starts with taking responsibility, followed by humility. Humility is the key word here. Hammond humbled himself in a very public manner, and it made all the difference. Humility is the only thing that can restore a relationship when respect has been lost. Let me say that one more time. Humility is the only thing that can restore a relationship when respect has been lost. Am I preaching? Am I speaking into your soul right now? When a woman comes out with sexual harassment allegation or a story, it's not simply a craving for attention, but a desire to reclaim the respect that she's lost, the power that her oppressor stole from her. It's a deep concept to wrap your head around, isn't it? But it's the tea. When a woman comes out with their sexual harassment story or allegation, she wants her abuser to own what he did and humble himself. She wants him to acknowledge her experience. She doesn't want to feel crazy any longer. She wants healing, not retribution. She wants vindication, not vengeance. It's when you become an asshole about it that she will decide to drag you down to the pits of hell, which, as we all know, hath no fury like a woman scorned. When someone accuses you of something so serious as sexual harassment, resist the urge to be good about it. Don't rationalize or justify or make excuses. You only make things worse. Ask questions, search yourself, and address her feelings with humility and compassion. Don't just vaguely acknowledge some general wrongdoing in the past. Give a full account. Give a full account. And don't be short-sighted either. Don't be like the Banj. Resist the urge to shalaye. Did I use that reference right? I don't know. But it just seemed like it fit in there perfectly. Celebrities in particular make things hard for themselves for no reason. The Banj would have fared better if he had elevated his perspective and not reacted so impulsively to those rape allegations. Had he humbled himself and opened up a line of dialogue with his accuser, or even publicly opened up about what he did, maybe things may not have gotten as toxic as it did. Someone accuses you of rape, and your next line of action is to use intimidation tactics to try to shut her up. Bro, are you dense, fam? That's like pouring gasoline on fire. Like see, don't be like D'banj, guys. That's what I'm saying. His celebrity status may have insulated him from real consequences, but the rest of us civilians will not survive it. Use your sense. Use your number 6 or 7 as they call it. Another thing that's important about Haman and Ganz's story is the importance of truth. Jesus said, quite rightly, the truth shall set you free. And we know this saying like the back of our hands, but I don't think we fully understand how powerful truth is. Haman spoke his truth and spoke the truth. Two different things if you're following me. He spoke his truth and he spoke the truth. He spoke about how he interpreted the situation and why he acted the way he did. That's his truth. He then spoke about the fact that he did in fact do what he did and what Ganz accused him of. No excuses. That's the truth. By speaking both truths, he was able to set himself and Ganz free from the demons that tormented them both. Now they're free to live life and prosper. And they're both doing very well right now. While the other men who have been accused of the same thing are either facing prison time, or they're out of a job, or they've been excommunicated from society. The truth shall set you free, brothers and sisters. And here's what's interesting. An attorney who has represented many women who have reported harassment by powerful men, including Donald Trump, hit the nail on the head with this statement, and I quote,
All my clients say the same thing. Why don't these guys just admit it and apologize? That would make a big difference in my life.
Close quote. It's so simple, but we make it complicated. Sorry really is the hardest word, but it's really all it takes to restore balance when respect is gone. We all make mistakes, right? We shouldn't have to pay steep prices for our mistakes. We shouldn't have to lose everything we want in life for mistakes we made as immature people. People just want validation and healing. Give it to them freely. Admit your mistakes. Show some remorse. That pride, that ego you protect so desperately will get you nowhere. You never know when an encounter with a woman you didn't think was an issue would come back to haunt you. So work on yourself now so that if you're ever in that position, you'll be able to handle any accusation with finesse. Take my word for it, guys. Men, women, I don't care what your gender is right now. Anyone could be on the wrong side of an accusation at any time, and you guys be able to handle yourself. Another piece of advice I'll give to men is that you should reflect on your past indiscretions and get ahead of them the way Dan Harmon did. Go after that dragon while it's still sleeping. Don't wait for it to wake up and come for you before you face it. Don't wait for someone to accuse you before you respond. If you can pinpoint any behavior of yours that points to sexual harassment, reach out to your victim today and make it right. Privately, of course. If you're in doubt about whether your behavior was harassment or not, reach out and ask her. She will appreciate your thoughtfulness and effort. Your humility will undo any resentment she may have harbored against you all this time. And finally, listen to her. Listen to women. I didn't say believe women, no. I didn't say that. Listen to them first. The belief part comes after the claims have been proven. The burden of proof is always on the accuser, not the accused, so yeah. But that said, take any accusations seriously. Don't dismiss her story. My guy, if she accuses you, listen attentively. Find out what she needs from you and meet her there, or meet her halfway at least. You need to show that you've done the thinking necessary to truly understand the damage that you've done. Because these things do damage. They damage women in ways we can't imagine. In ways that neither men or women expect. No one ever tells you that by treating someone a certain way, that it fucks them up in this way. We don't see the cause and effect until later. So humble yourself. Don't be a goat or she'll use you to do her soon. Be guided. Be like Dan Harmon. Oh, and ladies, I haven't forgotten you just yet. Be like Megan Gantz. Why? If your abuser is making a sincere effort to make things right, to make amends, don't shit on it. Don't let your hate, your bitterness blind you. Don't deny your healing. Don't lose your soul for clout. If he comes correct, I hope you have the discernment to take it to heart and let your wounds heal. If vengeance is your goal, then damn, God have mercy on your soul. Because you need to realize that outside of men's mistakes, a lot of these guys are not bad people. Truly sinister men exist. Don't get me wrong, Harvey Weinstein is in a league of his own. But most men are just ignorant and insecure and conditioned to see women in a certain way, in a demeaning way. They think their feelings for a woman makes them entitled to her. They don't have the range, the emotional intelligence and self-awareness to notice how those views harm women. And you should know that emotional intelligence and self-awareness are not skills that grow on trees, even though we expect every Tom, Dick, and Harry to possess them. They are highly they're highly rare, high-level mental processes that very few people know how to truly deploy. So when the man is making the effort to confront his demons and is showing remorse, you see, I can't tell you how to feel or respond, but at least consider his gesture. Have some compassion, lest you become the oppressor yourself. Build a bridge, not a wall. So that's that on that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sitting through this long talk. I hope you took something useful from this, whether you're a man or a woman. Please make time to listen to Harmon's podcast episode to hear word for word what a masterclass in apologizing sounds like. I've put the link in the description. So what do you think? Do you have any stories of a well-handled accusation? Do you have any recommendations? Do you have anything to add to this nuanced topic? I hope I did it justice. I hope you guys learned something. I hope it makes sense. I really do, because it's so difficult to have these conversations in good faith because everyone just be bullshitting and in their feelings. But yeah, I'm happy with what I've said and what I've done, and let's hear from you guys. Feel free to slide in my DMs on IG at The Young God Pod or Twitter at I Am The Young God, where I share exclusive content. So you definitely want to follow those pages. There is also a donation link in the description of this episode. If you feel compelled to support this project financially, I would definitely appreciate it. Thanks again for listening. Subscribe to this podcast and share with your people. And whatever you do this week, go forth and be a God among men. Bring your best to every situation and see the universe work in your favor. This is The Young God.